Today, we're going to be looking at the Tables and Graphs assignment. The new Tables and Graphs assignment with the hospital info database. First thing, we're going to view what the assignment is. And we read through it, and here are the steps in doing the assignment. The first is to load the data file into SPSS and to look at the variable and value labels to understand the data file. Okay, we find the data file by clicking on hospital info. We'll save it, and then we'll open it. Okay, the data file is successfully loaded. What we'll do is we'll expand the labels so we can read them. It looks like everything from zip code to location really is not going to help us much. They're strings, and they're just comments. If we go to the data view, hospital name, city, state. Okay, the easiest way to see what our data file looks like is to go to the view and click on value labels. So now we actually have value labels in here. And we note that these are just comments. The last variables I talked about are just comments and probably not all that useful to us. But we've got a lot of data to work with. We can look at going back to the variable view, we can look at the values. So it looks like for these variables, for everything from mortality to imagery, they're just 3 levels: below, at, or above national level. And they're coded so that they get bigger. The bigger the number, the more they have of something. Okay, so we've loaded it in and looked at the value labels. Select 2 variables and display an analysis of their relationship using both a table and a graph. Discuss the pros and cons of each presentation. Because I want each student to do a different table and graph, and because I live in Colorado, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce the size of the data that I'm dealing with by just selecting hospitals that are in Colorado. To do that, I'll go to Data, select Cases, and rather than All Cases, I'm going to click on if condition is satisfied, click on If, and here I want State. I'm going to click on Equals, and in quotation marks, I'm going to put Colorado, continue, okay. Going back looking at my data file, we note that a lot of them are X'd out until I get down to a lot of California, until I get down to Colorado, and they're no longer X'd out. So I'm just going to deal with hospitals that are in Colorado. And now I want to look at, go back to my variable view, I think I'll look at as my relationship between variables hospital type and hospital owner, these 2 variables. To create, what I want to do is I want to create both a table and a graph. So I'll go to Analyze, Descriptive Statistics, crosstabs. Let's put the column as hospital type and the rows as hospital ownership. We'll click on Display Clustered Bar Charts, and we'll also ask for some cell statistics. We'll ask for, let's ask for row percentages. Continue. Okay. And here we have our table. First of all, a crosstabs table has a lot of data on it, a lot of numbers, not very easy to read. And here's our bar chart. We could edit this, but I think we'll just leave it as it is. The first thing I want to do, what I want to do is I want to copy this and put it in a Word document, but generally I've got a lot of stuff here I really don't want. So I'm going to just click on the crosstab table. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to, and this is a useful skill to have, I'm going to open an Excel worksheet. Just a blank worksheet. And I'm going to paste. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find the whole table. I'm going to undo, merge, and center. That way I can edit it a little bit easier. What I'll first do is I don't really want this column. So I will delete that. I'll take this, copy it, just put it over here, paste it, and no longer will I wrap the text. Take total, paste it here, delete that column, make that a little bigger so we can read it. And take this. Delete that, so now we just have, it's just cleaner. Table's much smaller now. Maybe we can take this, make that a little smaller, and we have a cleaner table. Now I can just copy, highlight mark the table, copy it, paste the table into my Word document. I don't know why it turned out red. Interesting. We don't want it to be red. We want it to be black. That's a little bit easier to read. Okay, table's in there. Now we want the graph. We'll go back to our SPSS output. Just click on the graph. We won't do a lot of editing to this. We'll do some editing later. In our Word document, paste it. I want to make this a little bit smaller. I wanted it on the same page. we can make this a little bit smaller. Maybe we can make this a little bigger. And we could probably put our comments up here. So looking at this, we've now got hospital ownership by hospital type with both a table, crosstabs table, and a graph. And we can comment, we want to put comments on which is easier to read and understand. First of all, the table's got a lot of numbers, and it's pretty hard to understand. Our graph is a little bit easier to view. It's awfully small. I would have to put on my glasses to read this. But it looks like there's a critical access hospitals are more in the government. Acute care hospitals are more likely to be the voluntary ones. And that's what we would say. And in this case, I would probably argue that the bar chart's a little bit easier to read. Okay, the next thing we want to do, present an analysis of a single variable using two different types of graphs. Discuss the pros and cons of each. Okay. Let's just look at overall hospital scores. Overall hospital rating. I just want this column. And because I'm still just selecting for Colorado, we'll just look at Colorado. And we want two different kind of graphs. And I particularly like the legacy dialogues. The others, chart builder, I just really get frustrated with. And let's try a histogram. And the variable would be overall rating. Why not? We'll put a normal curve on them. Just say OK. Fairly clean. And we'll do another one. Again, legacy diagrams. Let's just do, let's do a pie chart. And overall rating. Okay, and here we've got two graphs. And it's easy enough just to copy this. And again, going to our Word document. I want to put this on a new page. So Control Enter puts it on a new page. Paste that. It's a little big. And we'll go back to our SPSS output. Back to our Word document. Paste it. And it's way big. We'll make it smaller so we can put it on the same page. And you be the judge. Which graph makes more sense? Which graph would you want to include on in your project? Okay, and finally, going back to this, compare the results for two different states. Discuss what you found. Okay. This is going to be more of a challenge. The first thing we want to do is we want to do it for two different states, so I'm going to have to go back and select cases. And since I'm originally from Ohio, we'll look at either Colorado, we'll compare Colorado and Ohio. Okay, that gives us two different states. Back to our SPSS. And let's create a new variable so we can be a little bit of a challenge. Let's add together some of these variables. So transform, we'll compute a new variable. We'll call it total. The numeric expression, we'll look at mortality and safety. Readmission. That should be good enough. We'll just look at those three. And to create this variable, we'll divide it by 3 just to give us a mean of those three variables. Click OK. Now going back to our data file, we note that we have created a new variable way at the end here called total. Kind of interesting, which is the mean of mortality, safety, and readmission. Now we want to draw two graphs and we want to compare them. We'll again go to legacy diagrams, we'll go to histograms, and rather than hospital overall rating, now let's go to total. And we'll display them separately for state. Put that as rows. Just click OK. Doesn't look like there's a lot of difference between Colorado and Ohio in terms of means and standard deviations. The distributions look very alike, but we can edit this. So we can go here and we'll double click it just so we can edit it. And we'll click on, let's just change the color, why not? So I click on the bars, I then right click, click on properties, and that lets me do lots of different things. Fill and border, let's make this just a different color. I don't particularly like bright colors in my graphs. I'll make it blue. And we'll click on the outside fill and border. Let's just make that kind of a white. I made that too blue. Let's try that one. Yeah, why not? That doesn't look bad. Okay, this This graph turned out pretty well. We aren't going to do a lot of editing. So again, we just close the editing in SPSS. We have our graph and our SPSS output. We copy it. We go back to our Word document down here. Control Enter puts us on a new page, and paste the graphs that we just copied, and write our comment. Basically, that there are some hospitals in Ohio that seem to be scoring lower, but on the average, the two distributions look very similar. And that's it.